Imagine this. A man who had spent years performing in tiny clubs, dimly lit bars, and community theaters. A man who faced rejections, silent audiences, and nights where the world felt overwhelmingly heavy. A man who never knew if he would ever get a real chance. But still, he kept going. Still, he kept believing. And still, he continued chasing the thing that kept him alive, making people laugh. This is the story of that comedian, an ordinary person with an extraordinary moment. And it all began the moment he stepped under the bright lights of the BGT stage. The audition hall was packed. The judges sat in their polished chairs, the crowd buzzing with anticipation, and somewhere in the wings stood a man who couldn't stop shaking. He wasn't shaking because he was nervous about forgetting his jokes. No, he was shaking because this was his one moment. His one shot. For the first time in his life, he was going to perform on a stage where the world would be watching. And deep down, he knew that everything, absolutely everything, depended on this. He walked onto the stage wearing his simplest clothes. Not flashy. Not trying to impress anyone. Just showing up as himself, because that was all he had. His voice cracked when he introduced himself, and immediately you could feel the audience soften. There was something real about him. Something honest. Something that made you quietly root for him even before he told his first joke. The judges looked at him with curiosity, not yet knowing that they were about to witness something special. Simon leaned forward. Alicia smiled gently. Amanda gave him a reassuring nod. Bruno, full of energy as always, seemed excited to hear what he had to offer. But at that moment, the comedian wasn't looking at the judges. He wasn't looking at the crowd. He wasn't even looking at the cameras. He was looking deep into himself, telling his soul to be brave. Telling his heart not to fail him. Telling his voice to stay steady just long enough to deliver the performance of a lifetime. And then, it began. His first joke came out, and the room chuckled softly. Not a roar. Not an explosion. Just a warm ripple of laughter. But for him, even that gentle sound was everything. With each laugh, he gained 1 ounce of confidence. With each giggle, his shoulders lifted a little higher. And by the time he reached the third joke, something magical happened. The audience leaned in. They started connecting with him. They started rooting for him. They started laughing louder, longer, more freely. The comedian's nervousness melted away like ice in the sun. Suddenly he was not just performing, he was living. His face lit up. His posture straightened. His timing sharpened. He was no longer the man who had walked on shaking. He was the man he always knew he could be. Every joke hit harder. Every punchline landed perfectly. The judges couldn't stop smiling. People in the audience wiped tears from their eyes, not from sadness, but from laughing too hard. And somewhere halfway through his set, the comedian looked like a man reborn. It was as if years of struggle, rejection, and pain were being washed away with every burst of laughter coming from the crowd. But what happened next changed everything. As he delivered his final joke, the auditorium erupted. Not in mild applause. Not in casual approval. But in a roaring, thunderous standing ovation that shook the entire room. People shot to their feet instantly. Judges included. It was one of those rare moments when the room didn't need to think, they reacted with pure emotion. Applause echoed through the hall, and the comedian stood there frozen, overwhelmed, trembling, trying to take in what he was seeing. He had never, not once in his entire life, received applause like that. For a moment, he seemed lost. His eyes glistened. His lips trembled as he whispered a tiny thank you, barely audible over the roaring crowd. He pressed his hands to his face, shaking his head, unable to believe that this moment was real. Years of heartbreak collapsed into that single instant. Years of hard work finally made sense. Years of doubt were replaced with undeniable proof that he mattered. That he was talented. That he was seen. And that was when Simon spoke. Simon leaned toward the microphone, his voice softer than usual, almost emotional, and said something that left everyone stunned. He told the comedian that this audition was one of the most authentic, heartfelt, and genuinely funny performances he had ever seen on the show. He told him that comedy like this, real comedy, comedy with heart, was rare. And then Simon did something he didn't do often. He opened up. He talked about how tough the entertainment world could be. How cruel it could feel. How sometimes, all someone needed was a single moment, one chance, to show the world who they truly were. And then he looked directly at the comedian and said, "You just had your moment." Those words were like lightning. The crowd erupted again. And then, as if the universe wanted to stamp this moment into history, the most unexpected thing happened. One of the judges hit the golden buzzer. The hall exploded in gold confetti. The lights flashed. The music surged. The comedian dropped to his knees, completely overwhelmed. He tried to stand but couldn't. The emotion was too heavy. Too powerful. Too real. He covered his face, sobbing with joy, disbelief, and relief all at the same time. The judges rushed to the stage. Alicia hugged him. Amanda wiped a tear from her eye. Bruno clapped dramatically. And Simon, usually the toughest one in the room, gave him a nod of approval that said everything words couldn't. It wasn't just a golden buzzer. It was a rescue. It was a new beginning. It was a message to him and to everyone watching that dreams don't expire, no matter how long they take. When he finally walked off the stage, gold confetti stuck to his hair and clothes, he didn't look like the same man. He looked taller, prouder, freer. He looked like someone who had just been handed a key to a new life. And that is exactly what happened. Within days, his audition went viral. Millions watched his performance across the world. People wrote messages saying he inspired them, saying he reminded them not to give up, saying he helped them laugh during their hardest moments. Comedy clubs booked him. Talent agencies reached out. His social media exploded. And suddenly, the man who once doubted if anyone would ever listen to him, was being listened to by millions. But the most beautiful part, he never changed who he was. Fame didn't inflate his ego. Recognition didn't harden him. Success didn't erase his humility. He stayed the same gentle, grateful, hard-working man who stepped onto that stage with nothing but a dream. In interviews, he often said the same thing. That the golden buzzer wasn't the moment that changed his life. It was the laughter. It was the applause. It was the realization that his stories, his jokes, his experiences actually meant something to people. That they made a difference. That they connected with people's hearts. And that is the true power of talent. It doesn't matter if you're a singer, a dancer, a magician, or a comedian. When what you do touches people, when it moves them, when it makes them feel something, that's when lives change. Not just the performer's life, but the lives of everyone who watches. This comedian's journey is a reminder to every person out there who feels forgotten, unseen, or unappreciated. To everyone who works hard every day and wonders if it will ever pay off. To everyone who has a talent but fears the world may never notice. To everyone who has a dream that feels too heavy to carry. Your moment can come when you least expect it. But it will come as long as you keep going. That audition wasn't just a performance, it was a message. A message that no matter how many times life pushes you down, all you need is one moment of courage to stand up again. One moment to step into the light. One moment to change everything. This comedian's life changed in an instant, yes. But the truth is, his journey to that instant took years of struggle, faith, resilience, and heart. And that is why his story is so powerful. It shows that success isn't sudden. It's earned. It's built. And when it finally arrives, it arrives like